Hey guys, as I promised, this is the second video, the part 2 of Optical Phenomenon. I did a video, the first part video, an hour ago, and it's now accessible on YouTube and Facebook, and this is the second part. So you see already, I have prepared here something, and we're coming to the phenomenon tool, the bending mirror. But before we come to that, what you have to know is, and it is really like this, optical phenomenon, the optical illusion has a lot to do with bending and stretching, right? So under Jakubczyk's triangle, if we go deeper into it, you have to know that wherever you stand, wherever you lay down, or wherever you look down, or whatever you look under or up, whatever, which side of the wall, it doesn't matter. I made it here more graphical so you see it. Wherever you stand, you are always the 180 degree. That's very important that you really capture that. Wherever you stand, it doesn't matter on which side, left or right, or wherever you lay down, or from the roof you're looking down, you are always representing the 180 degree. And I call it the man in the box. So, and that's the first thing. So you always are, the optical phenomenon and the optical illusion is that you are always representing the 180 degrees, right? Always. It doesn't matter on which side you stand. If you lay down, if you look down, if you're hanging on the ceiling and you're looking down, you represent always one side, and that side is always the 180 degree. But you can never see behind the 180 degrees, which is invisible, which is behind you, unless you have an optical tool that allows you to see it in the back at the same time. But the principle is that you represent 180 degree, and it doesn't matter in which side you stand, you are always the 108 degree position of 180 degrees, and from there you observe, you see, you perceive optical things, right? It's always somewhere over here, always away from you. So that's being said, I bought for $8. I think it was $19 from an education school website for science, physics stuff. I've ordered me, and I mentioned in the first video part, I bought me a mirror, and it's a bendable, flexible mirror, but it's absolutely like a mirror. And the only beautiful, amazing thing about the mirror is you can bend it. Now let me tell you this. I have discovered so many things just by bending the mirror and stuff with optic illusions, and let me say to you in the other way, I don't have to fly into space as an astronaut with a rocket to experience high speed, velocity, how time, space and bending, etc., and time are to experience that, because everything I can just do it right here, wherever you are in the living room, with the mirror, and with a flexible mirror, a flexible bendable mirror, you can experience everything here what they experience up there. Okay, first of all, you are always 180 degree, right? The mirror, if you look on the side, is always standard, always in 180 degree. So what happens is, if you keep it, I'm gonna try to explain you. What happens is, if you keep the mirror in around like hand wide or 15 inches away from you, it's like you are the 180 degree, and this is always also 180 degree, right? As you see it. And now the magic becomes, if you bend with your hands, right? You're looking in the mirror and you see all the objects in the mirror, right? So when you bend with your hands towards you, what happens is, maybe you can see it in the camera, that it creates kind of like a half oval form. And if you look into it, what I see now is that everything, when I bend the outer side towards me, but the inner side where the thumbs are is always going in, then I see that the objects are stretching and bending, and they are stretched. And if I come to a certain bend stretch moment, what happens is at a certain angle, it becomes a optical perception illusion. Like it's kind of like you don't know where to look at because you feel like you look in through, I don't know. So it feels like kind of like dizzy, like, or disorientated on your eyes, this feeling. But if you bend it from that point a little bit more, right, all the particles depart. So all the objects in the mirror, by bending it, they break it apart, so that, for instance, when I'm looking in the mirror, that by a certain angle, which is this, I don't know if it's, maybe I can call it like 180 degrees, 120 degrees, that I separate myself to the left side and to the right side, but I can see myself, but I have split myself apart, one to the left and one to the right. So also is when I bend it and behind me is that light, the intensity of the lamp you see behind me is stronger. It feels like it's very close to my eyes. When I bend it backward, the stretching begins and the bending begins, and the particle I have broken become back to one. So the movement is actually from 180 degree, it goes like 120, and this is what creates the optical phenomenon illusion, that the objects is getting stretched and bent till it comes to a certain degree. It feels like dizzy, high in your mind, in your eyes, because you can't see anything. It gives a certain feeling in your brain, and because everything looks like extreme stretched, and you really see in a moment it's going to break apart in two particles, and then you see one of your left side and one of your right side. And it's the same thing with the light. If I have a light in there, it stretches, that it appears on the left side. Also, that stretching, when you bend it, while you're bending it, you recognize you have that experience of high speed velocity, because everything stretches out. So you cannot really see those forms clearly. It looks always all looks like lines and dark spots, yellow spots, white spots, red spots, but you cannot define it. But as more you break out, as more you bend it and the hands towards you, but the bending point goes outwardly, which goes in this direction, right? It breaks apart a particle. And then I was thinking myself, then what I recognized is then with a certain, if you come to a certain high speed velocity, you can break a particle, which I can represent here with the mirror. If I bend it further, it breaks apart in two, right? So that's what happens if a high speed velocity is extremely fast. You bend the optical phenomenon illusion, and you feel it kind of like dizzy because it's like disorientated, and you feel that the objects get more and more stretched because it's bending. So the bending, I would say, is the bending itself represents the high velocity of speed. So when it bends, if I would do further bending, it will crack in two parts. It tells me that that's the crucial point where the high velocity of speed, or the bending in a certain angle, it breaks the particles, the objects, in two. But if you don't bend it too much, then it keeps still in one particle, but you stretch it out in about this, like 120, 130 degrees, you can really stretch an object in the mirror apart and really long. So that's the reason why I said in the first video about with the sun, when we see the sunrise and when we see the sunrise and the sunset from 8 a.m. in the morning till 9 p.m. in the morning, what we really witness is the bending of the light itself. So if you look now here on this mirror, right, the bending mirror, it's the 180 degree. Now the sunrise goes and the sunset, which looks like this. So on the top of this angle right here is the highest point, and then it goes back down. So that is actually the bending light, but it's still one object, but we stretch that object so far and bending so far that it's actually one stretched light, but we cannot perceive it. That's why we always see the sun as a sphere, as a ball, but it's actually one stream, it's one light, like a flashlight, but we cannot perceive it because it's so extreme fast. Another interesting what I have discovered to a bendable, flexible mirror is the optical phenomenon of experiencing a high speed velocity in regrets to the objects I'm looking at, right? I'm bending it out, right, till it makes me dizzy in my eyes. But when I stretch it further and I move from the hand width, when I keep that bend and I stretch out my arm, right, it's another very interesting illusion phenomenon. When you have it like this and you look at yourself, it's like forward and reserve operating in the same time. So let me draw something here real quick so always remember 180 degree, that's what you are. And I call it the man in the box. Very interesting. So when this is the mirror, it's the 180 degrees, right? Now you look in the mirror, and this is the object in the mirror. Let me make it red so you can see it better. That's the object. Now, when I bend the mirror in 120 degree, let's say it's like 120 degree, the object what I see in the mirror is from the rest mode. I call this the rest mode, right? It stretches out like this, right? So what you see here, let me do it like this. So this is the rest mode. This is how it starts. That's the beginning. Rest mode. 180 degrees. And the object in the mirror is right here. And when you bend it towards you and this goes out, you stretch the object onto the whole degree. And I would say this would be around approximately 120, 122 degree. And if you flex it more, the mirror, it becomes a triangle. It looks like this, right? So the object is obviously like this, and it's the crucial point where you break it right here. So the result is, if you break that angle, that 90-degree angle, or I would say maybe 70 degrees angle, obviously what happens next is you broke it apart, right? And that object is now on your left and on your right side, right? So this is the rest mode, which is this. It's 180 degree, right? Now you're bending it to 120, 22. What happens? The object optical perception is stretching, and that's the sun. So that's how I came to the conclusion that's the function of the sun, the energy, the light. Here's 8 a.m. in the morning, and here's 9 p.m. in the evening. And the sunrise and the sunset, the time during is one stretch, one bending of a light. But we cannot perceive as one stream. We can only perceive it in round circles on certain positions because it's too fast. Our eye cannot perceive it, capture it. So, and obviously if you break it more, because it's high speed velocity, right? The object is stretching out because of high speed extreme velocity. It comes to a crucial point where you break that object, and which is here, and it breaks in two, which is here. So the object exists now on the left side and on the right side. So thank you for watching. I will make a third video soon. I hope you understand it. Important is to know that it doesn't matter where you lay down, or when you look down, or when you stand on the left side, right side, doesn't matter. You represent 180 degrees. And when you look at something, it's always bendable. It's like you are in the mirror. Everything what you see is, I came to the conclusion, is like the mirror. It's like you're looking like this all the time, right? And it's bending, and that bending is speed, velocity, high extreme speed velocity. When it's bending, you break the particles, right? So thank you for watching. I will make a third video, and yeah, thank you guys.